Hello everyone, back with another fusion project of mine. This time I've been using up some seedlings, mostly ash, they sprout like weeds around here, to make some clump style trees. Now I've also done a birch, I believe it to be downy birch, as well. So if we start with this one, haven't achieved full fusion yet. This tree is not fused with the others. Maybe it never will. Maybe it just needs another year. I have wired up this central tree. This, I believe, will be the front of this clump. And I do have a reasonable base where they have fused. So it's just going to be a question of letting this grow on. I'm going to take out a couple of pieces that I don't like, that are growing in the wrong direction, and shorten this one just slightly. But otherwise that's pretty much all the work I'm going to do on this tree for this spring. Just be fed and watered and allowed to grow until I decide to change my mind and take a pair of scissors to it, which, well, you know, I do these things. So anyway, that's that one. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trunk clump. And then I have this bigger 15 trunk clump, I think it was. Yeah, 15, which seems an interesting number. Japanese don't like even numbers in their bonsai trees, so I just thought it might be quite interesting to have, yeah, a clump with a lot of trees in it. Now again, I do seem to have got good fusion, but they're all looking quite weak at the moment and a bit weedy, so I'm going to leave them in this pot for another year. I'm not even going to trim these this time. I'm just going to let them grow and then maybe cut them back midsummer, or at the end of spring rather, and see if I can get a bit of ramification. But I'm just trying to build up this base where they're fused together and there's a bit of girth in some of these trunks. So that's that one. And then I also have this one, which is okay. I do have full fusion. I don't know how well you can see it. I do have a base plate from which the 7 trunks are emanating. So I think again this year I just want to fatten this centre trunk. So I have cut back some of these. Actually going to shorten those. I'll leave that one, but I'm going to shorten this one back to here. These are quite rough cuts, but I want to encourage this tree to take off. I want the centre tree to be the heaviest of the group, so I'm going to allow that one to grow freely and keep these in check a little bit. So that's that one. Just coming back to this one, I started to say and didn't, but I'm not sure 15 isn't too many. It may come a point where I remove a few, depending on what the sort of base plate that they're all growing from looks like. I think that could be interesting as well. So follow on. If you want to, you can subscribe and follow on with that and see where you think I'm going right or wrong. Okay, so this is the birch. Now this, I do have full fusion. I do have some really interesting movements in the trunks, and I know, because I've tapped the daddler pot beforehand, that I actually have completely filled this pot with roots, and I'm thinking about putting this into a bonsai pot. So I'm thinking at the moment, let my favourite front would be this. This is my favourite front at the moment. I really like the undulation of this trunk. I do have a dead branch over here, but all in all, the rest of the tree looks fairly healthy. I've got a lot of very straight bits, so those are going to have to come off. And I think the pot I'm going to try and put it in is this one, although this is quite shallow, so depending on where the root ball is, or how the root ball is rather, I may end up putting it in this slightly chunkier blue pot. I'm not really going to repot it on camera. There are lots of people who make repotting videos and will make better ones than I, but I will just take some of this top soil off so you can get an idea of how the bases of these trees are fused. So far it's coming away relatively easily. There's some debris in the centre there. Trying to be very gentle because although they have obviously fused, I don't know how strong that fusion is. Whether they might rupture apart if I put too much pressure on the trunks at this stage. They've only been together for, well, spring of 2016 was when I created these trees. So yeah, there we have a fairly solid trunk. There's some reasonable roots coming from the right place. How well the camera is picking this up. Suddenly got very gloomy here. Yeah, so I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to go away now and repot this tree, and then we'll come back and look at it in its bonsai pot. And a quick close up of the roots. Okay, back in a while. Okay, so here we go. Trees now in the bonsai pot. I was able to get it into the more shallow oval pot that I wanted to. I've also thrown a couple of pieces of wire on. Well, ask you to watch me wiring, but so I'll give you a quick 360 as it is. I'm quite pleased with the way the trunks have all sort of kept out of one another's way. But I now want to do a bit of trimming, get rid of a few excess bits that I don't want to keep, or as in this case, this particular branch just here has died back to this point. So I'm going to just bring that around to there. I'm going to take it back just like so. Now this is still alive, but it's very straight. What I would like is for this bud to take off and become the new leader, so I'm going to take it back to there. I have another bud just here in case anything goes wrong with this one. So yeah, there we go. That's that trunk taken care of. And this I'm going to go around clockwise. This I want to get rid of this piece. I don't like it. It's sort of curving back over the top of this first trunk. It's coming back in towards that way. So I want to lose that in its entirety. There's a bud there which I'll come back to. So that's gone. more. And then I have this issue here of these two that are crossing. Back and looking from the front, I don't like this secondary one, so I'm going to lose that one. And I'm going to trim this back to this outward facing bud to continue the trunk line in this direction. This back branch I'm going to just trim back to there, take off that piece of dead wood. Okay, so this tree, I have another dead branch here, take that off. I would like to keep that as a trunk line. So I have a fat knobbly bit here which I'm going to take off in a couple of chunks. Yeah, I have a very thin shoot here which I'm going to leave in place for now because that may take over from this piece entirely. Yes, in the meantime I'm just going to trim this back, and although it's fatter than this at the moment, I'm hoping that if I let this grow up for a while I can get this to overtake. Otherwise we've got a strange situation of the branch being fatter than the trunk, which obviously is not going to work. I'm still going to shorten this back to that bud and then let that bud take off. Likewise with this tree, I threw a piece of wire on, and I want to lose this eye pokey branch and then just shorten the trunk back to there. A couple of buds there I'm going to take away, don't want them growing inside the trunk line. And that brings us to this first trunk. I want to get rid of this eye pokey branch. And likewise this one. Yes, I'm just going to trim back to a bud. And there. That's pretty much it for this tree, for this spring. I think it's a fair start. Don't touch the camera, Cooper. I think it's a fair touch for this spring, Cooper. There's no room for you up there. Yeah, so here we go. Let's try and do another 360. As always, I keep doing this. Let's ditch the turntable and just go with turning the tree on the spot. And there you have it, my fusion style clump downy birch. I'm fairly certain this is a downy birch rather than a silver birch. As I say, these are self-seeded in the garden, and the only silver birch that I know of for miles around here is the one that I was given, or my wife and I were given for our 25th wedding anniversary 5 years ago. And it wasn't setting seed and hasn't set seed for these, so it's growing away quite nicely in the garden. I'm forbidden to bonsai it, as you can imagine. Anyway, please subscribe if you want to see the future fate of these particular trees. There is a playlist specifically for them. Thank you for watching. Take care.